Didn't get a chance to attend Oculus Connect 5? Well, I was there for you and spoke with lots of VR creators, so let's get to it. You are listening to the How to Create VR podcast, weekly conversations with VR and AR professional creators, designers, and producers. Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Create VR podcast, where I speak with professional creators, designers, developers, and producers who work on VR, AR, and MR projects. I'm Marcelo Lewin, an immersive technologies evangelist, creator, producer, and the guy behind howtocreatevr.com. On September 26th and 27th, I attended the Oculus Connect 5 conference in San Jose, California, which focuses on everything, of course, Oculus. The really big news coming out of that conference is the all-new Oculus Quest, previously known as Project Santa Cruz. It is a standalone HMD with full 6 degrees of freedom. I actually had the chance to try it on 2 experiences, and I have to tell you that this is a game changer. I see this HMD appearing in the enterprise, powering many upcoming training experiences. Beyond that announcement, I attended many sessions, including one where Walmart, Oculus, and Stryver spoke about the recent announcement of Walmart purchasing 17,000 Oculus Gos to train their entire workforce. That was a great session where I got to learn how this was done, and it also helped solidify, at least in my mind, that VR is truly the future in the enterprise. I was also lucky enough to interview many people about VR and its future. What follows are 7 interviews with VR creators from Catapult Games, Emovji, Force Field VR, VR Health, Stryver, Talespin and Stormborn. You are in for a treat. But before we begin, I would like to thank my good friends at VR for sponsoring this episode. Thanks to their support, I'm able to continue to create great content to share with you. VR allows you to easily share your 360-degree photos and videos with the entire world. Plus, they now have a VR experience that lets you build 360-degree tours easily. You can access VR through the web, mobile, and all major VR platforms. You can check them out at howtocreatevr.com/VRVR. Make sure you use this URL so that they know I sent you there. All right, let's get to the interviews. All right, I'm here with Dane Jennings, and we're actually in line waiting to try out super hot VR on the new Oculus Quest, right?
I am super excited.
I am super excited myself, and we're in a long line here. So, Dane, what do you do?
So I'm part of a team called Catapult Games. We're based out of upstate New York, and we're working on our first title. It's a VR climbing game called Don't Look Down, inspired by classic platformers. It's the only VR climbing game where you can actually grab and smash enemies, throw them at each other, collect power-ups, fling your way through bonus rooms, and find a new virtual world that's unlike anything you've ever seen.
So is this going to run on Oculus, on the Vive, or is this via Steam? How are you guys publishing this?
So it's currently playable on the Rift and Vive,
okay.
And we're working on porting it to the new Oculus Quest, which we're all super excited about.
Previously known as Santa Cruz, right?
Yep, previously Project Santa Cruz, as well as PSVR next year, but our early access release is going to be on Steam and Oculus Store, hopefully in November.
You just exited the keynote, so did I. What's your take on what you saw?
It was deeply inspiring.
It makes you want to cry almost.
Yeah, all of these advancements that they're talking about are something I've realized that this market has needed. Wireless headsets with 6 degrees of freedom at an affordable price point. That's something that's going to get the mainstream consumer to actually feel like they can get into the high-end VR space. Where currently, most of them are just used to mobile VR, which does not have anything close to the level of functionality that we see with the nicer headsets.
Right. Have you looked into, well, I guess not yet, into porting to Quest? Do you know if that's going to be a big job to do? I mean, they have a session coming up.
Yeah, the way that they were describing it with the super hot port from Rift is that it only took a couple weeks.
Right.
It's hard to say exactly, but I do have a meeting with the head of developer relations here to see if we can get Don't Look Down to be a launch title for the Quest.
Oh, that's really cool. That would be a big thing for you guys. Yeah. So what's your part in that game? What do you do?
So I'm one of the founders, and I do the vast majority of the business development. But recently, I've also been doing a lot of game design as well. I found that I have a passion for level building.
Okay.
So I'm in charge of figuring out how do we get this game in front of people, how do we connect with the community, build our user base, and now also put together some more great levels for everyone to enjoy.
Right, definitely. Well, how do you see the future of VR? Your personal take.
So I was really happy when Ready Player One came out, because I think it did a really great job of painting this idea of what VR could be, with more immersion through optic feedback throughout your whole body, standing on an omnidirectional treadmill, so you can walk in any direction. My idea is that the more immersive capabilities that we have through hardware, the deeper, richer experiences you'll be able to get with VR. And it feels like every year we're just getting closer and closer to full transportation to other worlds.
The holodeck from Star Trek. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, Dane, if people want to check out your game, is it on Steam already or on Oculus?
So I'd invite you to add it to your coming soon page on Steam. You can add it to your wish list. Again, it's called Don't Look Down. And also check out our website, www.catapultgamesvr.com. And I look forward to hearing what you all think about it.
Cool, Dane. Thank you. Nice to meet you, man.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
Sarah, welcome to the podcast. You were here at Oculus Connect 5, and you're a developer?
Yep.
A game developer, right?
I prefer play developer.
A play developer.
I come from neuroscience, and I think there's a big difference between games and play. So
so what's a big difference?
Developer.
Real quickly, tell us a big difference.
Dopamine, is it getting activated because of real novelty or because of inherent noise? Pow, shooting at things, are you going to win or lose?
I see.
That's the big difference.
So you created an experience, a play experience?
Yes.
And tell us about that.
So Emovji is the first asynchronous messenger platform in VR that lets you send your movements, hugs, kisses, dances to your friends. And we're definitely building a lot of play into it. You can, for instance, have trails on your hands so you can communicate by drawing to people your internal messages.
Right.
And we're letting people follow your movements. So if you want to teach your friends some dance movement, they can actually follow your movements and get feedback on how well they followed your movements.
So they would be recording themselves too and sending them back to you?
So they could, definitely after they get a message, they can re-record a message back.
Right.
And send it back, and just another form of really communicating in a playful way.
Right.
So it's definitely not going to replace any of the serious messages or whatnot, but we really see it as a way to connect on a deeper emotional level even, to be able to communicate your love to your long distance partner by actually giving a hug in space, right?
That's pretty cool.
By actually drawing your heart or moving your hands as if you're kissing someone.
Right.
Because none of the asynchronous messenger platforms that we have currently are really body oriented or embodied. We can do like little videos of ourselves, but a lot of them are very self-absorbed. When we're doing these videos, we're looking at ourselves more than we're thinking of our friend. And in this world we created, you have a model of a friend, you see their name, and you can actually shake their hand or give them a hug in space. And this is where your friend will be when they receive the message.
Now this works on the Oculus Rift. Any plans to port it to the new Oculus Quest?
For sure, definitely. We're aiming for that. We're part of Oculus Launchpad, this year's cohort. So
Let me ask you about Oculus Launchpad. How does that work? I mean, how do you get accepted to that?
You send in, there's like an application, you send in what do you do in VR, what's your interest, a little bit about the work you've been doing, and then if they like that, they invite about 100 developers to be part of the program, out of which around 8 or 10 will get some funding at the end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what do you get, what kind of resources do you get from them as being part of that launch?
I think the biggest resource for me has been visibility. For instance, being able to be here with my demo. I didn't have to pay for this demo table. If we get accepted, they feature us on the store. They give you like support and getting seen, which is very important for like indie developers.
Sure.
So
are you the creator? I mean, did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, so it's me and my co-founder Matt, who has just appeared here. We've been doing a lot of VR play with ourselves over the last year, just trying to figure out what is the actual product that we want to put out there.
Right.
And this sort of evolved from our test cases and feeling out the market and trying to understand how we can bring in more users into VR too.
Yeah. What kind of tips can you give to an up-and-coming indie developer?
Play. Take the time. Play in your creation. like don't be, okay, I'm gonna do this and just focus on that. But any type of whimsical, crazy idea, take a day to create a very low-level demo of that.
Okay.
Like first get your development skills up to that level. So that's what we're doing for the last year, and we just have a bunch of scripts. Anything you want me to build now, I can just build like that. Oh, I got that script from here, that script from there.
I see.
So when you build up those tools through play and through like little experiences, you keep checking that box of learning yourself and understanding what you're enthusiastic about too. Because this is a long game. Eventually, to have like a thing out there on the store, you need stamina.
And you need passion, right?
And passion, exactly. And to figure out what your passion is isn't an easy thing necessarily. It really has to come from like a deep need inside of you that you want to see out there in the world. And for that, I recommend most like starting with very small things.
Did you use Unity or?
We're using Unity. For this.
And do you have to do a lot of C# coding for this?
Yes. I mean, yes. Coding is definitely part of it. I come from like neuroscience. I don't come from like a hard coding background. There's good tutorials out there. Like people shouldn't be afraid of understanding this language. Like know what a dictionary is. It'll make your life easier. Like know what a singleton. There's a lot of very good design patterns in coding that I think when I started out, I was like, oh, I'll just hack things together and it will work. And it does. But really, like every design pattern I've learned has made my work so much easier and like extendable and refractable. So it's worth taking the time to learn that.
How did you fall into VR?
So I was doing research in neuroscience, actually about psychedelics. And I'm very interested in this, like how can we retrain the brain to learn different patterns and unlearn biases that we have. But it's very hard to actually do experiments with psychedelics in university settings. It takes many years to get approval. I wrote one paper about that, but then like pivoted into VR because it's not as powerful a tool, but it is very powerful.
It is.
If I can give you this embodied sense of being a cat.
It's almost like a drug being in VR.
It is. Listen, even the word drug is very biased, right? It's a very strong influence on your brain, definitely. And it's been I'm
going to tell you, it's a drug. I was hooked. The first time I tried it, I was hooked on it. I didn't believe in VR. I put it on.
No, me too.
I was hooked.
Me too. I'm a very embodied human, and one of my partners kept telling me like, oh, you should try VR. And I'm like, you're going to put a thing on my eyes, and I'm going to like think it's real. But the moment I put it on my eyes and moved my head, that was the big difference, right? When you actually get moving your neck and head even, and this is like the first SDK one, so no hands, even that was immediately very, very, very real, and that's what I wanted to figure out. Why is this so real for my brain? How can I use it? And that was, so a lot of my research was in that.
Very cool. Well, Sarah, if people want to find out more about you or your game,
go to emovji.com.
Can you spell that?
EMOVJI, so it's like emoji, but with a V for movement. So we're sending movements.com. We have an Instagram, I guess, as of yesterday. And definitely contact us. We're very much looking for people who want to be part of this new type of communication method, to beta test, to be greeters. We want everybody to have at least one friendly face in this new platform. And specifically people who are interested in like embodiment and trying to embody fire, or we're creating very interesting avatars and ways to communicate by embodiment. So if people are like into that, find us for sure.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Sarah. Nice to meet you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm here with Martin at Oculus Connect 5. You just finished doing a presentation. Great presentation, very inspiring. One of the things that as soon as you said it, I was like, wow, was the Anne Frank experience, right? I actually tried it. I tried it first on the Rift, and then when the Go came out, I went and you guys have it on the Go. Fantastic porting of it. Tell us a little bit about what you did here in the presentation.
Well, I think what I tried to get across to the audience was the notion that VR is extremely powerful in reaching people's core emotions and primal urges, because you can actually do the things that you can do as a human being, and there's no interface in between you and the actual application that you're using. And that allows us, by using those core emotions and tapping into those powers, allows us to carry across messages that are far more impactful than any other medium so far. And I used a few examples in our lineup of games and experiences that we've created to demonstrate the point, and even also an educational experience like the Anne Frank House in VR.
So one thing you said that was really interesting is don't be a genre specialist, be a VR specialist. So can you expand a little bit more on what do you consider to be a VR specialist?
Yeah, well, I think...
What makes you a specialist in VR?
I think a specialist in VR, because obviously VR specialists with the VR industry only being 3 years old,
right.
It sounds as if that still needs to be invented, but what we've seen over the past few years is that we slowly but surely start to understand the fundamentals of what makes a good VR experience and what makes a bad VR experience. And I think what we're also seeing is that those elements can actually be carried over across genres and across different mechanics, because these elements, these fundamentals, are universal. Mm-hmm. And when something is universal, you can always apply it.
Right.
And that allows us to jump eclectically from one genre to the next, from one type of game to an educational experience, as long as we utilize those universal elements. Having said that, and I also raised that in my talk, it doesn't mean that we can do anything simply because we are VR specialists. We probably need and do need the expertise of genre specialists, people who are specialized in a particular niche area, to make sure that we deliver a compelling experience. So in the case of, if we were to create a VR experience, which we've been talking about, to help people understand what it means to have Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
We can apply all our universal knowledge of VR to make for an interesting, compelling, educational, impactful experience, but we need the expertise from people that understand Alzheimer in order to make that
the
experience.
Subject matter expert.
Exactly, and that's why with the Anne Frank House, we would never have been able to create the Anne Frank House VR experience, applying those fundamentals, without the help of the Anne Frank House itself. So you need both worlds almost to come together and deliver a compelling experience.
But when you say the elements, are you talking about like the core emotions of human beings and how those can be applied in VR?
Yes.
So in essence, it's not so much about being a VR specialist, it's about being a human specialist, understanding humanity and how we react to situations, right?
Absolutely. You almost need to be an expert psychologist more than we ever had to be when we were still doing 2D screens and traditional applications. Having said that, there's obviously tons of developers out there that are creating mobile applications, and they're using the same psychological tricks to get people addicted, to make sure that they buy an in-app purchase. But that's a different kind of approach. That's like trying to nickel and dime your customers. What we're doing is trying to see how we can make it impactful. And indeed, you almost need to be a psychologist and understand human behavior and human nature, because VR allows you to be yourself in the game. It doesn't say you're the guy or girl holding the joypad or the mouse or whatever the interface is. It's like, no, you're in this experience, you are you. And because you're you, you're very close to yourself. And if we understand what human nature is, we understand what you as a user will do.
What's your take on UI and UX experience in a VR experience itself? And what I mean by that is you are the interface, right? So in traditional flat gaming or experiences, whatever you want to call it, you have interfaces in front of you to push buttons, but in a VR, if you're trying to bring that emotion into VR, you also want to bring real life into VR and take away that interface. So how do you work through that? Well,
we've obviously been working with interfaces for the better part of 20 years. And when we started developing our first VR game, we basically transported all of that knowledge into our VR game. Menus and pop-up menus and dialogue boxes and everything. And we quickly realized that was not the way to go. In VR, you're fundamentally approaching your environment differently than if you're not in VR.
Like in real life.
Like in real life. If you want to operate something, you grab it and you press a button. You don't want something to pop up in front of your camera or your phone that says, do you want to operate the camera? Press yes. And that's exactly what we initially were doing. So we wanted it to be much more direct and again, impactful, and that's what you need to work around. Having said that, we didn't throw away everything, and we're still using elements of the UI and UX that we were using for it. If you look at something like Minority Report, where Tom Cruise is obviously utilizing his hands to get all these windows in front of him and making the best information out of what he's seeing in front of him. That's an example of how you can still fuse both worlds. Something we've accustomed to in the 2D screen world with something that you're using as a tactile thing that you are used to from normal human realistic world.
Right.
You can fuse those things, but you need to be very careful that you don't confuse people.
So one of the interesting things with, like, for example, mobile or desktop is that there were standards created, like, for closing a window, for maximizing a window. I can sit down in front of any computer and know how to quickly maneuver. I can pick up any phone and pretty much know pinching, zooming in, right? But because VR is so close to real life, do you feel that it's hard to pin down standards for VR? Because every experience potentially, like life, is different.
Yes. No, it is, and I think what will happen, just like with the 2D applications, the same thing that will happen is that somebody at a certain point will come up with something that feels so natural that other applications will start to copy it, if you will, and that's when you will eventually get a standard, if you want. I can imagine that at a certain point, if you're working in a document in VR and you want to delete it, there's a virtual trash bin. You just grab the actual document, you crumble it, and then you throw it into the dustbin. But it could also be that people find it to be too many steps. Because one of the things that digital has also done for us over the past 20, 30, 40 years is make our lives easier. And if you actually have to crumble your paper and throw it into a bin in real life, and you only have to click once on the dustbin on your Windows screen to do that, actually reintroducing the old steps doesn't make sense. So we need to be very careful that we don't make it too diegetic in a way.
Right, that makes sense. All right, well, Martin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Great presentation. If people want to learn more about your company, where should they go?
They should go to www.forcefieldxr.com and they can see all our projects there. And each project also has a project page where you can find out more about the individual projects. And we also have contact information should people ever want to reach out to us.
Great. I'm going to download the Roller Coaster Combat?
Coaster Combat.
Coaster, I can't wait for that one.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm here with Aaron at Oculus Connect 5. And Aaron, I'm not sure what this location is. What do they call this?
Actually, this is the section for Oculus for Business. So it's like there's all the gaming sections, and we are now in the section of Oculus for Business.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. And what's your company and VR?
So the name of the company is VR Health.
Okay, what do you guys do?
We are developing medical and wellness application in virtual reality.
Okay.
All our medical applications are FDA registered. As far as we know, we are the only company that using VR as a certified medical device. And we have different applications for different use cases, such as physical therapy application, cognitive rehab, pain management applications. And we believe that you'll see VR headset in every hospital or every rehab center in the next couple of years.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I just saw a story, I think it was on Facebook of all places, but it was about a doctor using VR when they're giving shots to little kids. And they had a story that the kids were inside of the VR, but the story matched to whenever they were going to give the actual shot. So they would think that's part of the game. And the kids stopped crying. When they felt the shot, they didn't visualize it as pain because in the game it was part of the game that you were being burned or something.
Yeah, so I think VR is a force multiplier in the healthcare sector because no one want to be in a rehab center, no one want to be in a hospital. And once you put a VR headset on, you're in that virtual reality world. So that provides a place to escape to for the patient. So we have patients in different locations that told us that the minute they put the VR headset on, that was the first time they left the hospital after 4 months, for example. And so the psychological aspect of the full immersive experience create a whole new experience in those unpleasant surroundings like a hospital setting.
So how do you create an app like that? It's not only understanding virtual reality, but it's also understanding the subject matter, right?
Exactly. So we have physicians in our team and different experts, and basically we are not inventing new protocols. All we are doing is taking the golden standard protocols, model them into a virtual reality environment, letting the patient interact with the environment. And the second thing that we are doing is that it's not one-sided. Every time that a patient is interacting with that virtual reality environment, we are analyzing their performance, and at the end of the session we provide validated clinical data for the clinicians that they can use in the rehab process and basically quantify processes that till now was almost impossible to quantify.
And what kind of data are you like collecting?
So we are collecting data like reaction time, response time, range of motion, smoothness of the motion.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but is that done through like a haptic suit?
No. So we are using the off-the-shelf products, like the Oculus Rift, the Oculus Go, in the near future, the Oculus Quest.
Right.
And just by using the raw data, we are using different kind of AI tools and algorithms.
I see.
Taking all the raw data, analyze that, and turn that raw data into meaningful insights.
I see. So for developers that want to move into VR but are not interested in, like you said, gaming, right? Like the other side over here, what do you recommend they do to get into more of the business enterprise type of application?
So first of all, if you're interested in the healthcare side specifically, reach out to us, VR Health. Just look us up in Google. We are looking for developers that want to harness their capabilities, not just to develop games.
So what kind of skills do they need? What are you looking for?
So any VR developers that interested in the field, just reach out. We'll learn better how to work together. We want to bring people and developers to work with us and have multiple content for different kind of health-related patients, and that's exactly why we believe that we need more developers come and work with us.
But from a skill set, do they need to know Unity?
So we are currently working with Unity.
Okay. So C#, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Unity, C#. Again, it's the same tools that any developer here in OC5. All we are doing is adding another component, which is the data analysis. After the app is actually being developed.
So what's your take on VR beyond gaming?
I believe, and I told to the guys from Oculus, I believe that specifically in healthcare, you'll see market adoption faster than you'll see in entertainment or even social, because the need is much more powerful, right? Because the VR, again, as I mentioned previously, the immersiveness, that's a need, right? In the healthcare sector. So I believe that if you're a developer and you want more people use your app, I think healthcare is a good sector. Is a good sector to start with. And I think that's where we'll see VR being adopted first.
I see. Okay, cool. If people want to find out more, do you want to give a URL?
www.xr.health, or just look for VR Health in Google. You'll find us. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You'll find us. It's very easy.
You better be on Facebook, right?
Exactly.
All right, Aaron, very nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm here with Christina at Oculus Connect 5, and Christina, you're with Stryver.
Yes.
So real quick, tell us what Stryver is.
All right, so Stryver is an enterprise immersive VR training company. We create learning experiences in VR to train employees across the workforce. We work with companies like Walmart, Fidelity, Nationwide, BMW, doing a variety of types of training across different industries, but I'd say the common thread is what we're focusing on is cognitive decision making. So VR affords a lot of really amazing learning tools with its immersive environment for us to tap into how people make decisions and affect behavior change.
Right. So did you guys start specifically in VR, or were you training before and then migrated to VR?
So we actually were founded in the Stanford VR lab about 3 years ago.
Okay.
It was, our co-founder is Jeremy Bailenson. He is the founder of the lab at Stanford, and our other co-founder and CEO, Derek, was a graduate assistant coach of the football team. He did a project in the lab about training quarterbacks to make better and faster decisions. And from there, we started training NCAA football teams and NFL teams doing quarterback training. Got connected with Walmart, which was our first enterprise customer about 2 years ago.
Right.
And from there, have just spread into the enterprise space on the premise of if you can train a quarterback to make better decisions, you can actually train anyone to make better decisions. In fact, you can train a Walmart store manager to make better decisions.
Right. And there was a huge deal that just happened. 17,000 Oculus Gos, 5,000 Walmarts.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that whole project?
Yeah, so we started 2 years ago training in about 20 of their Walmart academies.
Right.
We started small with a couple topics of learning, a couple modules.
It was about Black Friday, right? If I recall correctly.
We had a Black Friday training. We did the wet wall training, and then we scaled it all 200 academies.
Okay.
So that was sort of over the course of the next year, 6 months, building out, sort of testing the efficacy. Seeing the data that we're getting back, proving that it works.
Right.
Walmart likes it, they see the results, so I'm scaling out from there to 200 academies. And again, seeing if it works, seeing people like it, what is the data, what are the ROIs, and they're all really positive. Walmart, the business, loved it, and now we're rolling out to all their stores, training over 1 million of their employees.
That's a huge thing, not just for you guys, the company Stryver, but I think that's a huge thing for the industry itself, right?
Huge for the industry itself. I mean, just shout out to Oculus with the awesome Go they're coming out with, and the Quest next spring. You know, the price point goes down on the hardware, and it can really democratize the space. Yeah. We talk a lot about it internally that, you know, if we can make VR happen in the enterprise, it will happen in the consumer.
I tell that to everybody because I think it's following the same path as the desktop computer did. Right? I mean, there was.
Talk about that.
I talk about that because I grew up before there was computers. I'm older than you. So I literally had no computers. Then we had computers, but the computers migrated to the consumer side only after they saw what you could do with them in the corporate side, right? The same thing with mobile devices going to the enterprise. Same thing with the internet. Everything. I mean,
So I think this is great for the industry. I mean, everyone we've talked to here today is just excited and happy for us, for the industry.
Sure.
Because, you know, they recognize that the more people we can get into headsets, get acclimated to VR, get, you know, excited about VR, it's going to be better for game developers. It's going to be better, you know, for consumer products, for Christmas presents, you know. More people that know about VR and can see it and enjoy it and experience it, you know, the better it is for the whole industry.
How do you guys think the new Oculus Quest will change your development or training? Will they change it?
I'm not sure. So our software is proprietary.
Okay.
So it's all designed, you know, with outside the Oculus store and not really tethered to a hardware product. I'm really excited about the, you know, new tracking abilities of the Quest. I'm like looking at it over your shoulder here, people using it behind you.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And it looks amazing. I've actually yet to try it.
I tried it already.
I'm coming early tomorrow to try it.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So we're really excited about it internally. The price point going down is awesome for us.
$399 is a no-brainer.
Exactly. You know, and this is great again for enterprise customers. You know, people on budgets, further democratizing the space. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, and our software has been really compatible with all hardware at this point. We've used other companies. The Rift and the Go has worked awesome with our software, so I think it'll just be another great product from Oculus.
So how are you involved in the projects? What do you do over there?
I'm a business development manager.
Okay.
And I was actually an intern for the last 2 summers, so I've been around the company since 2015. I've been kind of seen it evolve, you know, in little blips per summer. But yeah, I'm business development, so doing a lot of upper funnel outreach, working with customers, giving demos, exploring new industries. It's a really exciting time to be doing it.
Definitely. For developers that are interested in getting into training, what do you recommend they should know? Like what kind of skill levels?
I would say for especially CG developers doing, you know, computer graphics, especially in terms of communication training and, you know, hard skills training, environments that are the most realistic work the best in terms of learning research. When you can realistically map an environment in your brain when you're making decisions, it will translate to the physical world.
Right.
So having environments that are like someone's on-the-job training are the most similar to is very helpful to having that translate to the physical world.
Right. So having said that, are you guys doing mostly CGI or are you doing mostly like 360 video?
Having said that, we do mostly 360 video.
Mostly 360 video. With so how do you involve interactivity? Because 360 video right now, it's currently limited in how much, like hotspots, right?
Totally. So we totally recognize that. 360 video is great, like I said, for this realistic, literally the most realistic environment we can get.
Until we can get cheap photogrammetry.
There we go, exactly. But our software is really what powers our experience and what powers our company. It is the platform that makes us interactable. It's the platform that allows us to create experiences.
So the platform itself allows you to be more interactive beyond hotspots?
So we basically upload our 360 content to our software. It stitches it, and then you can add overlay text, overlay voice, overlay assessment. We track all the data, usage, assessment, head tracking data. So our software is really like kind of the engine behind our whole product.
So is it like a standardized LMS?
Our software does sync with some LMS systems. I wouldn't call our product a standardized LMS.
Got it.
It's a training tool that works with customers' LMS systems.
And it captures a lot of analytical data that you can make decisions on later on.
Yes. Well, we can collect a variety of kinds of data, like I said, usage, assessment, head tracking, and even the potential to do some predictive analytics.
I see.
And then we can, depending on what our customers want in terms of reports and cadence, we can make it happen.
Got it.
And also with syncing with an LMS.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. All right, cool. If people want to find out more about Stryver,
Yeah, check out Stryver.com. Look at Stryver in the news, Stryver Walmart in the news.
Yep, just do search for 17,000 Oculus Gos and Stryver will come up.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, nice to meet you, Christina.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm here with Jerome at Oculus Connect 5, and Jerome, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Please tell me if I did or not.
Jerome, yeah, it's pretty close.
Jerome, okay. We'll make it the Americanized Jerome.
Jerome.
There you go. So tell us real quickly, what is Talespin?
So Talespin is focused on the future of work. We develop training solutions, field tools, and business intelligence solutions for enterprise. We also have a studios division focused on entertainment. Specifically, studios are heavily focused on R&D.
I see. So let's focus on the training/enterprise side. Well, the entertainment part, is that all with VR as well, or is it?
Yes, all immersive, VR and AR.
So like 360 video?
Not video, just VR and AR, all real time.
I see. Okay, so on the enterprise side, is it mostly training?
Yeah, right now it is, but field tools are actually pretty much the same.
Now, field tools fall more under the AR umbrella, would it?
Correct, yeah.
Right.
It's usually for people on the ground working, for example, a reference, 3D model augmented in a real environment, being able to interact with a 3D model as a way to, for example, figure out what components are necessary for repair. There's a whole spectrum of use cases.
Right. So let's talk about on the training side, which is more VR related, I would assume.
Yeah.
So guide us through your process. I mean, how does one go about creating VR experiences that are engaging, interactive?
Yeah, well, it starts by really understanding the user and the use case. So instead of thinking problems and solutions, it really starts with experience.
Yeah.
So what is the exact need of the user, and how do you translate that into a great experience and deriving a feature set from that? You need to really look at the new generation and how they're used to work, right?
Right.
And they're all about experiences. They equate their happiness with the experiences, really.
Right.
So it's really about diving in the user and getting a better understanding of how they work and what they need.
So let me go a little bit deeper on that, because it seems that as a VR creator, you not only need to be technically skillful, right, Unity and everything you need to create stuff, but you also need to be human skillful. And what I mean by that is understanding how humans' emotions react to situations, because you're kind of trying to duplicate that in virtual reality, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how important is that in your company, let's say, to really understand the psychology of humans?
It's vital. For me personally, technology is really an instrument to reach a goal. Technology obviously is like playing a piano, really. It's the instrument itself, but you need to learn the rules of the instrument. You need to understand the musicality. And I think it's, especially for training, very important to think about what elements can you gamify. For example, if you're looking at rapid knowledge transfer, learning something really quickly, gamification is a very important part, because if it's fun to do, you're learning without even knowing that you're learning.
Right.
It feels like learning is actually taking the back seat.
So what are some examples of gamification?
For example, we're working on a module where you need to learn what the name of an object is and where the object belongs in a larger object.
I see.
For example, if you're looking at a car, what's the engine, right?
Right.
You could literally point at it, like, what's the engine? And then you point the engine. But you can also play, just an example, a Beat Saber type of game,
right,
where these objects are actually coming at you and you need to select the right one at the right moment.
Yeah, right.
So you're training on speed, and you're positively rewarded for making the right decision.
Okay.
On a meta level, it's also about rewarding the user in the long term, like completing a course, getting achievements, having to collect those achievements in order to unlock the next piece of content. Creates a sort of a roadmap, a long-term roadmap, which is very important.
What about like leaderboards for competing?
Yes, collaboration and competition are very important parts. So that's why everything that we build is multi-user ready.
Right. So what should e-learning developers today really have in their skill set? Because, I mean, what you're talking about is e-learning basically, right? Traditionally, they know video, they know Captivate, or they know Articulate, Storyline, whatever, but what else, now that we're moving into this new ground of virtual reality, what else should they become very familiar with?
It's a good question. I think narrative is definitely one of the more important ones. Okay. Telling stories, and telling stories is not in a traditional sense.
Yeah.
Telling a story, but it's also through level design. Can you tell a story through how a room is arranged, how things are set up, virtual characters expressing emotion, feeling empathy for the character is all narrative. Mm-hmm. So I think narrative design is an important part, because in VR what you want to do is be in the moment. You're being transformed in a different, almost like a different dimension.
Right.
You're really in the moment. So narrative design, I think, is one of the most important parts of
that's interesting.
Of VR.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. All right, Jerome, if people want to get a hold of you or learn more about your company, what should they do?
Check out our website.
Which is?
Of course, www.talespin.company. You can see all of our cases there, as well as the studios division of the company.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Alejandro, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
We are here at Oculus Connect 5, but actually we are at, what is it called? The indie game?
This is the Indie Lounge.
The Indie Lounge?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And who put this on?
So this was organized by the creator of Technolast,
Okay.
Blair Renoir.
Okay, it's a great event. I mean, tons of people, lots of...
I know, it was really nice. We had a secret sponsor that provided all the computers.
Oh, secret, huh?
Yeah, we've been setting up this since 3 o'clock.
Okay, lots of food, lots of drinks.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
All provided.
Yeah, and VR, what more can you ask for?
Exactly.
Right? So I just played your game, and what was the name of the game?
The game is Runes, The Forgotten Path.
Okay, and maybe tell us a little bit about it.
So Runes is a VR adventure of the likes of like the gallery, but it's packed with a little more action.
Okay.
You're a wizard and you can do spells by doing gestures in the air with your hands, and you're gonna find a lot of story-driven adventure, puzzles, and even a lot of action.
Throwing those fireballs was very satisfying.
It was, right?
I really like that. Yeah, a lot actually. Yeah.
So it's really cool because you have this spellcasting system and you can, switch spells, have different spells in different hands. One of my favorites is actually having a shield in my left hand and a fireball in the right hand.
Right.
It just feels so nice to throw it. And actually, one of the things you can do as well is throw it, and then if you press again, it explodes in the air. So you can time that. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. So you can get a bunch of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool. So one of the things that I did notice, a couple of things actually that I noticed that stood out for me. One of them is, one of the transitions is the eye blinking, which I've never seen that I can recall in any experience.
It's true.
But I did like it because it felt very natural, very real for me. Like, like we all blink.
Right.
So, and I did like that was interesting. How did you come up with that?
So actually, the story of the game is based upon your character. You are Leth, a powerful wizard that has been put into a coma of the mind. Basically, you're trapped in your own mind. So the first concept was about you waking up inside your own mind, and we wanted to convey this feeling of waking up. So we figured out that, starting the game by just opening your eyes was a very natural way.
Right.
And we actually did experiment with different effects, like actually, opening and closing your eyes from the center of the screen.
Right.
But this one was the best, where you just have a vertical shift of the field of view.
Yeah. No, it felt very real.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I noticed was your audio. Audio is really good. Obviously, you use spatial audio
Yes.
quite a bit. Number one, how important is that for a VR experience to be more immersive? And then number two, how hard was it to implement?
So I would say it's one of the most important things. I mean, we use it heavily. It just makes you feel more like you're there. I mean, every effect that you can specialize will add so much more. I mean, just having a tingling or even a voice from a character that talks to you from your left side and makes you turn around, that just gives you that sense of presence.
Right.
And secondly, it was really easy in Unity using the audio SDK from Oculus. So you can basically specialize specific sounds that you want, but it's very heavy performance-wise. So you have to be very careful and
Not to overdo it.
Yeah, you cannot do more than 4 or 5 spatial audios per scene, so you have to be very careful and design it well. So for example, in our game, the voices are all specialized because that makes it feel so much more, personal. And then we specifically, take a look at which ones are important depending on which scene. This is a narrative game.
So what makes specialized audio so heavy? Why is it a heavy thing for the scene?
So spatial audio uses this special type of mathematical functions that basically model how the human head, shoulders, ears listen for sounds, because there are reflections, the sound bounces in the walls, bounces in your ears, all that stuff. And these mathematical functions are kind of heavy to compute at runtime, because basically you have to compute it every time that this is a different place in space.
I see.
So there are extra mathematical functions that happen at every frame in the game.
I see. So it's a potentially performance hit.
Exactly. I mean, like today Michael Abras was talking in the keynote that in the near future we'll have way more performant HCRF, RF functions, and those are the functions that make it so performant.
Right. So for somebody that wants to get into VR game development, creation, what do you recommend they do?
So me myself, I wasn't a game developer. Okay. I was actually a researcher before this. And I just met my team and basically download Unity, and that's how you should start. There's a huge amount of tutorials. The Unity forums are amazing. Everyone will answer, and everyone's so nice. C# is a great language, I think, to start. I mean, you can start in Unreal, but you're going to be doing blueprints and doing C++. I also tried it, but C# makes it so much easier for you. So I would just download Unity and do the tutorials they have on their website. They're great.
Is that why you picked Unity versus Unreal, because of C# versus C++?
Honestly, the reason I picked Unity at the beginning, I did the same prototype in Unreal and in Unity, just to compare,
Right.
And at the point when we started, it was with the first Vive dev kit. The VR features in Unreal were not up to par with Unity.
I see.
Unity had a lot more features for VR, so that just, moved the balance there. Because I would not have had problems trying to learn C++ if it was going to make the game better.
Did it have Blueprint back then when you tried it? Blueprint?
Yes, it did, but it's just that it didn't have motion controllers at the time, so you had to implement that yourself.
It's probably different, I would imagine, today.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I have a lot of friends
that are already embedded.
Of course,
yeah.
But I have a lot of friends in Unreal,
that are doing
they swear by it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. And if people want to learn more about your game, is your game on Steam already? Or?
There's this Steam page. You can go and wishlist it.
Wishlist it, okay. When is it going to be released?
It will be released in November this year.
Okay, do you know how much it's going to be? Or?
It's going to be probably $22 to $25.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
And it will provide more than 4 hours of single-player adventure.
Oh, very nice. Cool. And if people want to find out more about it?
Just go to our website, stormbornstudio.com, or just look in the Steam page. Runes the Forgotten Path.
Perfect. Alejandro, great to meet you, man.
Thank you so much.
Good luck on the game. I want to thank everybody at Oculus and Oculus Connect and all the creators that let me interview them. I learned a lot from each of them. Oculus put on an amazing conference, and the outcome of that was that VR and AR is here to stay. Companies need to understand that they have to get in on the fourth wave of computing, or they will be left behind, like those companies that didn't believe in the internet when it first came out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and like us on iTunes or SoundCloud. For more episodes, check out howtocreatevr.com/iTunes or howtocreatevr.com/SoundCloud. If you like to watch video interviews and how-to tutorials all about immersive technologies, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at howtocreatevr.com/YouTube. If you are ever in the Southern California area, we have a monthly meetup with lots of great VR and AR presentations. You can join or RSVP for our next meetup at howtocreatevr.com/meetup. Finally, if you are interested in learning more about how to create VR, AR, MR, or cinematic VR experiences, please visit howtocreatevr.com. So until the next episode, I'm your host, Marcelo Lewin. Cheers, everyone.